So today I wanted to talk about movie theaters and the movie theater going experience. As someone who loves film, who loves cinema, I go fairly often. And while we've all heard the complaints about people being on their phones, people being distracting, I've got a whole new set of complaints when it comes to movies. This is all sparked by one article I saw on Instagram where a senator in Connecticut is passing a law that says that movie theaters must show the actual showtimes for movies. And I think this is great, but before I tear apart movie theaters, I want to say that the reason why I care so much about the movie theater going experience is because I do think it is the best way to watch films. Watching it at home isn't wrong or anything like that. I just don't think it encompasses the full experience, and I obviously still watch movies at home.
Right to jail, right away.
I think the best and most pure way, I guess you could say, the most dedicated way you could watch is in the movie theater. And I've got three reasons for that. The main reason is that it's in a separate place. I love doing things that are outside of my house or not in rooms that I already do things. There are things that I would love to do in my house. I just don't have the space. I don't have the money to do it. If I could make a movie theater in my own home, that would be a different story. But like even going to the gym, I prefer going to the gym in a different building, not because I don't have the ability to lift heavy things in my own house, but because the dedication of something outside your typical space. I don't cook in the bedroom. I don't have my office in the bathroom. And that's because as human beings, at least me, I like things to be separate. And there's also a little bit of a sacredness to going to the movie theater that's separate than watching something at home. It doesn't have all the distractions, which leads me to my second point, which is pausing films. Obviously, I pause movies when I need to go to the bathroom at home, or if I want to grab a quick snack, I try to pause it in between scenes, not like in the middle of nowhere. Even the ability to do that kind of ruins how movies are supposed to be watched. They're supposed to be watched in one go, in one sitting. They're not TV shows, they're not books, you're not supposed to pause in front of them. If you want the genuine experience, how the filmmakers, how the director, the writers, the editors wanted you to experience the film, seeing it in one pace like that in the movie theater is how it was meant to be. The technical work becomes way more important because you're no longer focused on anything else. The sound design, the editing, the pacing of the film, how long the movie is and how much it grabs your attention. And this brings me to my third point, is the culture around going to the movie theater. Now, I know there are a lot of people don't respect it as much as they used to. A lot more people sit on their phones. A lot of people are very talkative. I don't have that experience very often. I've gone to the theater 20, 30 times that I can think of recently. And there was only one experience where there was one guy that was being annoying. He kept on falling asleep and snoring, but he would wake up every single time there was a loud noise. And so it was kind of funny. And the times that I can recall where there was a major disruption, mainly from younger people, teenagers, I just tell the movie theater staff, I snitch on them.
Right to jail, right away.
You can call me a boomer, you can call me a snitch, I don't care. If I paid money to see a movie, I'm not gonna get sprinkled by popcorn or by Coca-Cola just because you feel like throwing across the theater, or if you want to scream obscenities for an hour and a half, I'm not gonna do that just because you also paid for a ticket. And I feel like, at least in my area, the theater I go to, people are most of the time, almost all the time, very respectful of that. But when you're watching something at home, even if it's by yourself, you're going to be distracted by things around you. You're going to want to sit on your phone. You're going to want to pause probably more than you need to, which actually affects how movies are made. Netflix has started to make movies for people to sit on their phones and watch the movies. The films that come out from Hollywood, that come out from these streaming services, are affected by it. Now, the problem is we can complain about streaming, we can complain about phones, we can complain about attention spans going down. I feel like one major killer of movie theaters that no one talks about is the movie theater experience itself. There's a law being passed in Connecticut that theaters have to disclose what time their movies are actually going to be starting, because nowadays, I don't know if you've noticed how often you've gone to the theater, but sometimes it's 30 minutes long, which is a ridiculous amount of time. If the showing says 8:30, but it starts at like 9, that's so difficult to plan your day around. When I take other people to the theater that don't go as often, the showing's at 6:30, I tell them 6:50, and they get all confused. They're like, why? And I'm like, unless you want to sit through 30 minutes of commercials, you come at this time, that's when I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there 6:59. Like, I know the movie's not starting until 7 o'clock. Even that's not true. Sometimes the theater will change it, so you can't even trust that it will show for 30 minutes. If you go at 2 p.m. at an earlier showing, they show less commercials, so it might be 10 or 15 minutes. If it's really late at night, I've noticed sometimes they only do it 20 minutes of commercials. For me, it's just an inconvenience of when I need to leave the house, but it's a serious issue when it comes to parents that are having a babysitter or people who have dinner plans before and after. 30 minutes, if you're not knowledgeable of the time could really affect how much money you spend on things or how you plan out your day. For many people, it might actually affect their bottom line. But other things that I feel like just destroy the surrounding, artistry and culture around movie theaters is the fact they removed posters at my theater. I don't know how often it's happened at AMC or other places, but they just show screens and they filter through different movies. Movie posters already sucked. This is going to make them even worse because now they have to be super simple. They can only catch your attention for 3 seconds. They're going to be showing TikToks soon at the movie theater while I'm walking past. They're not even going to be showing posters. And let me tell you of a good example, and this is what movie theaters should be doing. There used to be a theater that I would go to when I lived in Northern California, and this place, the second you walked in, you could tell this place was dedicated to something, that it felt like a different world, like you were entering into somewhere else. Red carpets, movie posters of things that are playing, things that have played in the past, famous movie posters, old film cameras in the corners. They have the little tablets that tell you what this thing is. It's dedicated to the art form. And when I would go inside, of course they played previews just like everywhere else, but it was only like 2, 3, 4, and in between they would play silent films. They would play a 3-minute silent film, then a trailer, maybe a 5-minute silent film. So I would actually come early to watch them, and I would watch them because there's actually some kind of history attached to this, some kind of timeline that I can actually think about this. It's amazing seeing these older films in context to the newer stuff. So this movie theater actually has some kind of vibe and culture, artistry, dedication to cinema. So my complaint for new theaters is put the posters back up, get rid of the distractions, get rid of the modern stuff, update. I know many of them just remodeled, but most of them just look so ugly when it comes to the layout. It looks like at least the Regal I go to, it looks like a very poorly laid out spaceship. Like it does not scream movies. I know they're going for like that 80s vibe, but it doesn't even capture the 80s vibe very well. It's not bright and colorful. They somehow took all the negative parts of the 80s and all the negative parts of modern day architecture and put it into it's like a glow stick. I'm walking into a big glow stick. Put some actual art stuff out. Put some cameras out, put out some cool facts, change the facts every week or so about movies. I would come and I would look at those. I understand why they don't do that, because they would take more time to maintain. They would have to pay some minimum wage worker to make sure it all works. Now, I don't expect them to lower prices for tickets or for food, but actually make the place fun to go to. And lastly, actually make it easy for the consumer to actually understand when your movies are starting. The app, can you fix the app, Regal? This thing is so glitchy. This is the glitchiest app on my phone. And remove the 50-cent fee that I have to pay if I do it on my phone instead of just scanning it at the movie. That's a ridiculous fee. That's a ridiculous fee. Just put it into your price plan if you're gonna do that. Just charge me outright, but don't tell me you have a fee on the broken app. What can you do as a consumer? Well, one thing I would suggest is going to local smaller theaters. I can't always do that because it would be too expensive. The Regal Unlimited does actually keep the price down. If I go to the theater 4 times out of a month, which really isn't that much, it's once a week, I can save up to $75 depending on what I go to. No, maybe not 75, but let me think.
The prophecy is true.
It's like $45. If I go more than that, then it's more money. But I do try to support local theaters that are different when I can, if it's a special event, even though I have to drive like an hour to go to them. That's what I would recommend for you. Second, I would watch movies that aren't the big movies that come out, these, the Marvels and stuff. Watch some indie films that look interesting, because most of the time these are the films that actually make money off of the ticket sales, not just from marketing their toys and stuff and dumping it onto a streaming platform. These get bought out by streaming platforms, and so they don't really get any more money depending on how much people watch it. Lastly, like I mentioned, a guy is making a law in Connecticut to pass it. If you're in Connecticut, support this guy as much as you can. More than right for us as consumers to know what we're getting and to have the easiest experience. And that's what I'm really worried about. I know movie theaters will never be as high as they were back in the day. Wherever it plateaus out in the future in our culture, I don't want it to stay the way it is. I would want a vibrant understanding of what the art form is. So that's it for me. This video is a little bit more ranty. I didn't script this. Is all off the top of my head. I just wanted to make something in between some of these other things that I'm planning, other videos that I was planning, and this is something that was on my mind. So if you agree with me, disagree with me, put it in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoy what I do here, leave a like, subscribe, and if you really love what I do here, you can always buy me a coffee. Thank you for watching, and Godspeed.